Hello everybody, it's Lindsay from Vintage Button, and today we're going to make gingerbread man out of felt. So there's a little bit of a story about this felt. This was a coat that was never made. So when we used to live in Cambridge, we had a lovely neighbour called Joan who she used to be a teacher at the local primary school, and she even went to that primary school. So she was proper Cambridge Mill Road type person through and through, and lived through it all, and then it got very trendy sort of not long after I moved there. Not because of me, but I think just because it's a good commuter place for London. Cambridge is rapidly expanding, so it was like the first wave of gentrification on that side of the town. There was lots of reasons. But anyway, Joan and her little bungalow next door but one to where we used to live had a load of sewing stuff, and she started to sort things out a good 5 years before she went into her home. And she went into her home just before the pandemic, which I think is really, with hindsight, is a good thing. And when she did go into her home, she let me have some of her sewing stuff. But before, when she was sorting stuff out, she gave me this coat material. So it's actual wool, and it is woven. It isn't felted, and you can see, I don't know if it'll show up on the camera, but you can see like bits where it's going a little bit bare, where the wool is. So it's like a coat wool. And I used it for years to make gingerbread men for workshops, craft workshops that I ran in the community space that I worked in. So yeah, there we go. So that's Joan and her suiting, or her wool coat material. We've got a little gingerbread man chopped out. I don't know if we'll use him, or we'll do a bigger one. I think a bigger one might be good. So to get these shapes, what I did, and I might do I used a cookie cutter, actually, like a gingerbread man cutter, and I just sort of like I drew around it and then cut it out and made lovely shapes. But I was thinking, if you didn't have a cookie cutter, how would you make a gingerbread man shape? So we're going to do that really quickly. Let's use a pen that I know will work. Oh, my pens work really. So you would draw a stick man. Now let's use this as an example, because it's a really simple stick man. So it's sort of, that's the body, those are the legs, and that's the arms. That arm's a bit too long. And then just draw around. You would be a bit more careful. I would suggest you did it in pencil, and then you could adjust your lines, but you should be able to draw your own template. Failing that, because that doesn't look great there, but I should imagine if you're given like a little bit of time futzing around, you would get something quite similar to that, you know. There we go. Already looks a bit better. Make the head a bit bigger. Yeah, you would get there, and you'd have your gingerbread shape. So you could do that, and you can do that to make it bigger, or you could go online, print some out. There'll be loads of them online. I was just thinking, if you didn't have a printer, how would you get a gingerbread shape if you didn't have the things that I just mentioned? So we've got Rick Rack that came out of my kit. So I have these cubes, and they have like most of the things you would need to make something from the various workshops that I did. So we've got a little jar of black buttons, just sort of harvested and rescued from all the vintage buttons that I have. I think I've said that before when I've showed you my green ones and my red ones. I just sort of have a bit of time futzing about and sorting them out. Something quite not joyful, peaceful about sorting buttons out. Right, so what I'm doing now, because I'm trying to get on, it's about 4:30 here. I've got chicken in the oven. I'm sort of making a lemon chicken. It's very simple. I'm going to do some peas to it. It's really simple. It's just got red onion, because I didn't have any white onion. So don't take this as a recipe. This is what I do. I sort of make concoctions that generally work. So I've got some onions. I've got some sweet potato chunks that were out of the freezer. And I've got some cooked from frozen chicken. Yeah, it's probably not very healthy altogether. And I didn't have any lemon juice that I could see, so I've put some limoncello in. There'll be black pepper, there'll be herbs and spices, and there'll be other. So it's doing its first sort of like cook in the oven. I'm not a domestic goddess. I would much rather just be sitting doing this. Anyway, for ease, what I'm going to do is just take this off. I've got small scissors because I figured that would be easier to cut around the edges and stuff. I should have got my big scissors out though, just to do that bit. Right, so we can get rid of that. I still have masses of that brown material because it was enough to make a coat, like a winter coat. So, you know, back in the day when you used to make things, one of the groups I used to run was like an elders group. So I called it Friday Friends, and we used to have these reminiscent times where people would talk about like where they went shopping and stuff, and I actually took the idea of it onto the next job I had, because I got made redundant from that job during the pandemic, and I ended up working in a nursing home running activities, which was, I ended up staying there too long. I stayed there for 3 years, well, more like 2.5 years, but it was like I took a massive pay cut, and I'm only just back to what the pay levels were before, a bit more than what I was earning before the pandemic. So that's a bit sad. But I don't really do jobs for money. I have to get something out of it, or else I just wouldn't be able to do it. I think I literally would just not be able to function. It's not that way. My brain doesn't work that way. I have to see the point of what I'm doing. So anyway, yeah, I used to have these reminiscent sessions where they would bring things in and they would talk about the things that they used to do. I think that's probably where the sewing kind of came in. And John used to come to my craft group. I had 2 craft groups. I had one that was every Tuesday and then a monthly one in the evening. She didn't come to the monthly one, but she did come to the one every Tuesday, which was basically, it used to run all Tuesday morning, and then we would have lunch together, like the group, and then most of the people would stay on, and then there would be like another little group in the afternoon that was a bit more mindfulness type stuff. It was a nice day, Tuesday. I used to enjoy Tuesday. Yeah. So Joan was a big part of that, and she lived next door but one. And Lily, and because she used to be a primary school teacher, Lily was only little when we moved in, and she didn't have grandparents near her. So Joan became this sort of like on the spot grandparent, and they used to talk to one another over the gardens. Lily would I can see her now bouncing on a trampoline, shouting "Hello, Joan," and singing Frozen songs, and generally just being, you know, cute little kid, and they got on fantastic. Joan taught her how to do some baking, taught her how to play the recorder. She used to go round for recorder lessons. It was all very sweet. Very, very sweet. So, here we go. We have our gingerbread shape. So, they're super easy the way I do these gingerbread man. We're not going to turn anything out inside out. It's all going to be wrong sides together. We're going to just literally do the face now. So we're going to put the eyes on, and the mouth. Then we're going to decide how we're going to decorate it. We could just be really simple and put the rick rack on like that, and some buttons down the middle. I could find some red buttons that would make it Christmassy, or I haven't got that tree out. If I had that tree out, I would show you some examples of ones that I've made that have got like some like knickerbockers on and a bow tie, because bow ties are cool. And I think I might have some with dresses on. You could do whatever you want. It's yours. You can do whatever you want. Right, let's choose some buttons. Ugh. I don't think we want the very tiny ones. They'd be too small. And they don't have to match. That's the wonderful thing. Although they're a bit big, aren't they? Perhaps we do want the tiny. Do we want tiny ones? What do we think? We could have tiny ones. They look like they're the same, but they're not. They're at different heights. Or are they the same? I don't know. Let's have a see. If I got either bigger or tiny. I've got a navy blue one there. We don't want that. That's the right size. You see, that's big. That one's bigger, whereas that one's probably the right size. Right then, let's see. Oh, that one. That's a bit. I can hear it's raining outside. We triumphed today. We put the spot on the cat without like major drama, because sometimes it's like we've killed him and he will never talk to us ever again. I quite like. Alright, we've got some choices, but we managed it today without the histrionics. So what do we think? Bigger eyes, bigger currants. I quite like the bigger eyes, or smaller eyes. I don't think there's a wrong answer to it really, because then we're going to have some of this, like as a little smile. I don't know. I didn't sleep very well last night. I'm still mulling this office relocation around my head. Yeah. I don't know. I think the smaller ones. These are great for kids. So like when Lily was small, she could do stitching. It was one of the things. I used to have to work from home. I love working from home. That's why I have this thing doing my head in, because I absolutely love working from home and I get everything done that I'm meant to get done, but I feel energised and I have a fantastic work-life balance, and I'm not sat in traffic for 2 hours a day, which is what I used to do. The previous job was location based, obviously, because it's in an old people's home. And it was just like sometimes 2.5 hours out of your day, just getting there and back. Just not pleasant. So yeah. Now, are you going to go through there? Yeah, you are. That's alright then. I'm using the needles that was in the thing. I need to cut this nail, but I don't want to because I find growing nails really difficult, so I'm quite proud of it. But I do need to trim it down. Okay. The random things that I say during making a video. I've got to say thank you for, like, if you are regular, because I get a lot of people that are new, because I can sort of see the stats. I have like an app. I don't know if any of you have YouTube channels, but there's something called YouTube Studio, and that's if you're a creator which makes it sounds very la-di-da, but obviously it's not, because it's just me and my little old mobile phone here, and a borrowed tripod and a dodgy ring light. So it's not glamorous at all. But yeah, so if you're a creator, you go on this app, and it sort of talks about like how the channel's doing and stuff. And I took a bit of a hit. The growth took a hit. It still grew, but it grew a lot slower. And the way that because they obviously want you to drive yourself, which I don't really want to buy into that, because I'm not, I don't want to be an influencer or anything. I just want to talk crafty stuff with other like-minded people and help inspire, and I do feel I'm doing that, and that's really fulfilling. So yeah, what was I saying? So yeah, it has this app that sort of tells you who's watching and how often people do they come back. And there's quite a little number of you that do come back, and that's reflected in the comments. But I know that there's more than just the people in the comments that are coming backwards and forwards. So if you're a regular and you haven't commented yet, I'd love to say hello. So say hello in the comments. But what I was getting to for that was, it kind of tells me who's doing what, basically. And that it's just started growing again, because in October it did take a hit, because I wasn't, and I'm still not doing the amount of videos that I was doing before. I know that there's probably like pre-Christmas, and because I'm doing Christmassy things, I know that might be some of it. And I know that typically, like in January, which is why I don't know if I might do Junk Journal July, just to give me some structure in January. Because in January, although I don't know, I've still got things I want to do. And this encourages me to craft. Whereas like if I didn't sleep last night, I probably wouldn't be in here now if I didn't have this video to make and think, oh, people are waiting for that video. I don't want to let them down. And don't get me wrong, if I really wasn't up to doing it, I wouldn't do it. But it does help me. I think I've said before about like how it really helps my mental health, my crafting. And yeah, it just sort of, the commitment helps me to come. My commitment to you guys that watch, the videos, whether you just watch the slow stitch videos, because I know that's, some people just watch the slow stitch videos, some people watch both of the video, like the junk journal videos as well. There's a mixture, and it really encourages me, so thank you. And if you're new, welcome. What I'm going to do now is just sew the face on, sew the smile on without it getting tangled up. It's raining outside, I can hear. We've not had rain in such a long time. We've had miserly cloud, like this anticyclonic gloom they've called it, which I just thought it was the Novembers, where it, very typical British grey sky. But I do remember that when we went out the other week driving, it was very still. Okay, I'm obviously going to keep getting tangled up, but that's alright. My thread's probably a bit too long. So I'm going to use a back stitch. I'm not going to have too much tension, but I do want it to be a little bit taut. And I'm sort of going to draw the smile on, and the wonkier the better, I think. Draw the smile on with it's like a pink, corally pink embroidery floss. I could have got away with just doing one thread. I don't know why I double threaded it, but we're here now, so we'll just go with it. So yeah, I'm glad that you guys are here. Because I am a little bit, I don't like change, even though I've only been in this job for 12 months, but I've really enjoyed the working from home element. And that's not in question really, because it is a hybrid job and it wasn't, it's not a fully remote job. I think what it's done is highlighted to me that that's what I want, is I want a fully remote job. So, and I knew, and this job, when I got it, I was like kind of, well, I don't have to stay in it very long. It was actually, I'm amazed how much I enjoy it really, because I didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I do. I did. It was a job to get me out of a not good situation in the nursing home. I sort of backed myself into a corner, and I just needed to get out of there. It wasn't good. It wasn't good for my mental health to stay there any longer. Not because of the residents, but because of the state of social care. I suspect that it is like this anywhere, that social care is run for profit rather than as a service to people. Because that was certainly my experience. So, and I really did love my residents, and I miss them. I actually miss that. Like, it was one of, when it was a good job, it would probably been, even though it was really location based and it was tiring getting there and stuff, I kind of, when it was good, I didn't mind it because it was just joyful and interesting. And heartbreaking, but in a good way, and in a way that I felt honoured to be part of. But yeah, there just was too much of other things that got in the way, and it kind of came to a head last summer, and I just needed to get out there. So I sort of contacted a few recruiters and things, and got this job, which like I said, I really love it. I didn't think I would love it as much as I do. And I really, really love it. And I love the working from home aspect, because I've worked from home lots of other times, kind of done hybrid sort of situations, particularly when Lily was little, because I never earned enough to pay for childcare, so that was always the compromise from the employer, was that, oh, well, you could work from home some of the time, and some of the time on the location. So yeah, I'm just tidying this up because I want to do a bit extra. After I've done all that, actually I think it's alright, I don't need to do anything. Right, I'll just snip it off. I do think there's more gingerbread men in my near future. Right, so that's the basic premise. Now, if you wanted to just go like real old school, you could just put some buttons down the middle, which we might do that. We might talk about a few ideas and then just do the simple one. So you could do that. Let me see. I haven't put those jars away because I thought we might need them. Just like the Christmas coloured ones. Have I not put them away at all? I do apologise. I do try to get things in order before I put the camera on. Oh, here we are. So we've got the red one. I do have a green one, but I don't think we'll bother with green because we've got green rip rack. So we could have red buttons. So it could either like be two red buttons in the middle. You could put 2 white buttons in the middle. They don't have to be the same size. Or they could be completely the same size. And then green rip rack, which I think that's probably what we'll do. Or, if you're feeling adventurous, you just get your scraps out. And so like I've got this sort of scrap situation, and you could, build something up. I've got like you could make a dress, or you could put like breeches on. You could get a different coloured felt and cut out like the same shape for the bottom half and make them into trousers. I've done that before. Let's see what else have we got. We've got some trim. Oh, we might do this trim. I think we will do this trim because look at that. Oh, yeah, we'll do that. So we need 4 bits. I think I do have one like this on my Christmas tree, but it doesn't matter, I can have more than one. So but you can like, even that looks like, I know it's got roses and swirls, but if you did like a blue, pale blue button, it looks like swirly icing. So yeah, you can just get your stuff out and have a play. I'll put this back in here actually. Okay, I don't have any red, so we'll use the brown. We'll use the brown. Sew the buttons on. And what you do is you decorate it first, and then you're going to stitch it together. And I stuff it normally with the snippets from this, you know, like the kind of cabbage from it. It's more like coleslaw than cabbage. Let me just get rid of all these tails. Put the buttons on. Resist the urge to bring it really close to me. So yeah, so I'm kind of just thoughtful, reflective, just at 3 o'clock in the morning. There's a bit of anxiety, there's a bit of, you know, unknown. It's a long commute. I mean, if it was like every day, I think it would just be an automatic, oh, I'll just have to look for another job. But there are situations where there's 2 possible scenarios, because my husband works actually not that far away from where I normally work. So this is what normally happens. Like tomorrow morning, he will take me in, and because he has to work from his office location 2 days a week, and whatever days I am either at my office or at a medical centre that's not far away from where he normally works as well, he would drop me off and then go into his office, and then at the end of the day he comes and he picks me up, and that has worked incredibly well for the past 12 months. So the idea is now, is the medical centre that I normally work at, is that there'll be other team members who'll meet me at the medical centre, so like at 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and he would drop me off. I would wait, be picked up with colleagues, and then we would all kind of car share into the office, which I think on the whole would work until like the driving colleague is not there, on holiday or sick or something. So then there has to be a contingency plan put in place for that. So the contingency plan for that is that he would, instead of dropping me off on the north side of Cambridge, because that's like, he works at the science park basically, which is on the north side of Cambridge. He would drop me off at the bus station, or we would try and work out, is there a bus stop that's on the north side of Cambridge to the place that we're going to, and he would drop me there, and then I would have to catch a bus. So yeah, that's how it's going to roll. And then I think what we've requested is that we can be flexible on start and finish times, just because like some of us have this 80-mile round commute, and so I don't want, because it'd be a really long day for Miles. He'd have to basically go in an hour early, so to get me where I need to be, and then wait around, which we have done before, and we've done it when was it, St George's initially, because Lily was really young when I started at St George's, and she wasn't really old enough to walk. St George's, where I used to work, I probably shouldn't say that. Oh, he's going to go and look for it. It's right in the city centre of Cambridge, and her school is on the south side of Cambridge, and it's about like a mile away. And so she would have to sort of like, she wasn't old enough to navigate walking down on her own when we first sort of started that job, and it was still pandemic-y, and yeah, it kind of, Miles was working remotely, we were still living in Cambridge, so that was all right. So he could like pick me up, drop me off, and she'd be all right because she'd be at home. She'd be old enough to be at home for half an hour or so. And then when we moved to where we're living now, we bought a house, she still wasn't quite old enough to be like managing herself between the time school finished and us finishing work. So like he had to go and pick her up, and we sort of made a camp situation in the car. Like she had her own version of van life. So she had like cushions and sleeping bags because sometimes it was in the winter, and she would have Wi-Fi and all the things. Yeah, bless her. And so she would camp out in the car. And then somebody didn't like that, but she was, by that point she was old enough to walk down to me, so she used to walk down to me then after that. But it's just tough having kids, and having kids on your own, as in that we're a couple, so we're really fortunate in that, but we don't have family nearby. Like my family back up north, like everybody pitches in with everybody else's kids, so that wouldn't be a situation that would happen at all, because somebody else would have picked her up and taken her probably to my mum's or something, and she would be living her best nan life. But instead she was doing fake van life. But she was alright, and it's just one of those things, and it would only be for like 45 minutes. It would never be like for hours. But we just didn't have something, we didn't have somewhere to hold her for that time. Yeah. Strange times. So because of that, I know that this situation will be fine. Because we've done it before, so we'll do it again. We'll, we make it work, we make it happen. It was just such a nice job. I don't want to have bad vibes off it. So I'm trying to keep positive. And the crafting helps that, because I get to just come here and get my head into my hands. Hello?
Do you have any masking tape I could borrow?
Have a look on those shelves behind the door. Otherwise you'll have to ask your dad. He's got a drawer in the garage that's marked tapes.
Okay.
So if you can't find it there. What do you need masking tape for?
Just to mask off the area that I'm painting.
I've got some washi tapes. Is it a big area?
Yeah, I prefer to have a masking tape just because that makes it like big brush strokes.
Okay.
I don't think there is any here.
Then the garage in that drawer. Those are just the plastic drawers that, as you go in through, are on the right hand side.
Okay.
So there we go. Doing art homework at the last minute. She might not be, actually. She might just be doing art for fun. She's lovely. So there we go. Now I probably should have got some white to do this, but these are my own, so I'm not going to bother. And I'm just whip stitching them on. I generally use, there's 3 stitches I generally use. It's the back stitch, a running stitch, and a whip stitch. So like, I know how to do a French knot, and I know how to do some of the other stitches. But for what I do, I've never really been inclined to, like, I've watched embroidery videos, but I've never really been inclined to watch, to actually get and do a load of stitches. It's just not been me. Oh, look at that. That's really pretty. Let's do one last one. So, yeah. So I'm just contemplating don't know what I've done there. I've made the string really long. The thread really long. Just one more stitch there, Linz. Because I don't want to like be threading needles on the camera. But it keeps getting caught on my edge. Gotta put masking tape on the Christmas list. Well, before the Christmas list if need be. Just odds and ends. Things like that go in a stocking now, actually. Which is not very exciting, I know, but there you go. I haven't done a stocking any more than I did. What have I done today? I've watched some documentaries, like I did last week. They were slightly different, they weren't true crime. I watched some history documentaries that were very interesting. I watched some sort of like news, political type things that I'm not going to talk about. And I watched some crafting. I watched a furniture painter who I like what she does, but I could not have it in my house. And I think that's alright. I think that's completely alright. We're just going to whip stitch these. I think I'm going to move these scissors. That'll be better. So yeah, so that's what I did with my day, and I put dinner on. And I've done some loads of washing, so it's not been a complete day. But I kind of gave up about 4 o'clock, and I just came downstairs and I got on the sofa, and the cat came and joined me. And I did nod off a bit, so I'm hoping that I'm just going to be so absolutely knackered. Sorry if that's... I don't know if that's offensive. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, that I'll just be absolutely shattered, that I'll just go to sleep. Yeah, I don't often have sleepless nights like that. It's just because a lot of things whirling around my brain. There we go, that went on much better. Because time does march on and things change, and I'm alright with that, really. I think it's the fact that the changes come out of the blue, and it's just not within my control at all. Because like I said, this was never meant to be this permanent career move. It was something that got me out of the situation I found myself at St George's, which it has done, and it's done, more than that. So I will have to, I'm just tying a knot, which will be off camera. Have to reevaluate, and you can only do that by going through it, really. So that's basically what I've decided to sort of, unless I will start looking kind of lightly looking, non-committal looking for work. I'm not going to call recruiters or anything. I don't really have a LinkedIn. Perhaps I need to well, I do have a LinkedIn, but it's ancient and doesn't reflect me at all anymore. So perhaps I need to just be doing things like that. Or at least take the other LinkedIn down. I probably should do that, actually. But I love my job. And it's one of those jobs that you get, and the home job was like this. You sort of get a sort of almost instant satisfaction from it, because I'm helping people directly in their situations. Remotely, I do it all by telephone conversations, and sometimes Teams, very occasionally with a face-to-face appointment. I'm not going to say what I do or who I work for, but because I just think boundaries. I even think this is really pushing it, but I'm thinking it's a bit abstract. It's a bit abstract. The vast majority of you, not even in the country, so you don't have a probably clue what I'm on about. So ignore me and look at the prettiness. In fact, I'll talk about this trim. So this trim came to me via my husband's grandmother in Cape Town. So when Lily was tiny, we went out basically so that she could spend time with her grandparents, like Miles's dad and stepmom, and with her great grandma, who at the time was like 96 or something. So, you know, we kind of knew that we had to do it sooner rather than later, so that she could meet. At the time, Lily was her youngest grandchild. She's not with us anymore, and there's been lots of babies since. But she was the first in the batch from Miles's dad. She's like the eldest grandchild from Miles's dad. Whereas she's one of the youngest grandchildren from my mum. Her eldest grandchild is like 26. She's 26? I think she's 26. And runs the show, as she should. Yeah, so... And that's what I mean about, like, the big pot of kids, that there's always somebody, for like my little sister, who's still got school-age children. There's always somebody to pick my niece up from school. But we found ourselves down here. But anyway, yeah, the trim. The trim is from Cape Town, and when I got there and we took Lily there, she'd sort of, because I'd only met this lady once before, and we talked about doing arts and crafts, and she was kind of she wasn't doing Swedish death cleaning, but she was sort of sorting through her possessions. And so I got some scissors that are a bit blunt, and I do use them for paper crafting now, but they've got this lovely beaded tag on them. They're like embroidery snips. I might get them sharpened one day. So they are Mom's, because that's how we referred to her, as Mom. I got this big bag of just these types of little bits and pieces, and there was a pin cushion. There was lots of little bits, and they were just like little bits of things, and I was so like honoured with them, because I was just like, oh yeah. And she said, oh, I think I knew they would have a good home with you, sort of thing. Yeah, it was very sweet, very special. She would watch her soapies in Afrikaans. Yeah, sweet lady. Right then, I've got a bit of a pinhole, but that's alright. These are vintage. I love the fact that I'm giving this wool, because it would have definitely, when the other old lady, Joan, went into a home, I do jump around, the house clearance people would have just thrown this away. And I think she kind of knew that, Joan, that there were certain things that like would just get thrown away, like all the little cotton reels and things like that. So it does make me think that experience, sort of helping her move into a home and thing, like, I remember meeting with, she didn't have any relatives, so everything was done with solicitors and stuff, and meeting with the solicitor and trying to persuade her to take things with her to this new place that she was going to live at, and trying to sort of get her head around it, and that like it's just like you're going back to university and you're living in halls of residence. And she's like, oh, I didn't much enjoy that. So I was like, okay. So persuading her to take all the photographs and things like that. which she did do. It's a very strange time, because then like it was literally almost straight after that we went into the pandemic, or not. It might not be, because time's funny, but it felt like it, because I remember feeling like, oh, I'm glad that she's somewhere safe, and then it turned out that she actually was somewhere safe in Cambridge, at the city centre care homes. There wasn't much COVID in them. They kind of battened down the hatches really well. Some of the other ones in the outlying villages and stuff, they had outbreaks. But yeah, I was glad. So now I've started to sew around the outside. I'm going to leave this bit here empty. And actually, I think when I get to the halfway point, we might start looking, perhaps that way point, looking at stuffing some of the bits. It comes together relatively quickly. You could do a blanket stitch. Oh, these scissors. You could do a blanket stitch, or you could just do what I'm doing, which is just a whip stitch. Just do a whip stitch. And if I wasn't talking to you, it would go really fast, because it would just be me doing it. And it would be up close to me, so it wouldn't be this awkward angle. I think that's what it slows things down. I think I've said that before. I don't mind. It's quite... I don't think I would have made a gingerbread man this Christmas if it hadn't been for this. So I might, and it will encourage me to get some more out. I'm looking for work colleagues. I might do. Because I was thinking, what could I do for them? Seeing at the time when I first started, I'm like, well, because I think I'll be there for 2 or 3 years. So if I did this Christmas, last Christmas, they all got a little bunch of bay leaves, and it was all biodegradable, like string and a biodegradable label. So they could put it straight in the compost, or they could dry it out and use it for their cooking, basically, because I've got a massive bay tree in the back garden. So this year, I'm thinking of making mini door eaves. And I thought that is something we could do on the channel that would be a bit different. Just sort of a foraged wreath. And I don't have any wreath forms because it would be not very big. Like the size of not even the size of a dinner plate, like the size of a salad plate. So I've got some strong wire, so I'd have to make my own wreath forms. Which I don't mind doing things like that. I'm going to end up threading this needle, I can see. Or they could have a gingerbread man. I don't know what the decorations are like. So I don't know about that, making them a Christmas decoration. But I have sold these. I'd sold them for like quite some money, so I sold the workshop for some money as well. Unfortunately, not for me, for the organisation I used to work for. It was a popular one. There we go. So my first time of doing things in front of a camera, actually, in this sort of situation, in fact, it was this rig, and this is where the ring light comes from, because we bought it off Amazon, was during the pandemic. Before they furloughed me, I was just trying to sort of keep all these connections. Basically, my job there was to build community and create community groups and activities. And I'd been at that point, I'd been there for like nearly 10 years, so like I had quite the community of people, and I was trying to think of ways of like keeping connected to them. And so I did do sort of some impromptu Facebook lives using the organisation's Facebook and my work phone. But yeah, it's a strange thing. And so that gave me an idea to make a YouTube channel. When I was furloughed, I was thinking, what am I going to do with myself, sort of thing. And I knew my job was going to come to an end, so they furloughed me and they told me they were going to make me redundant. So when I tell people that I spent like the first lockdown just in that, because we had glorious weather and my husband was working, we were in a tiny house, so they was doing homeschool, so I felt like I was crowding them out doing what they needed to do. So it would either be sit in the bedroom, or there were some tiny chairs and a little seating area in the kitchen, which got old very quickly, or go and sit in the back garden. So I basically sat in glorious sunshine stressing about what I was going to do. And I remember I reconnected with an old friend from like when I was in my 20s before I met Miles. And he now lives in Mauritius with his wife and he runs a creative business. And we reconnected and would have like Skype conversations about it, about sort of having some sort of creative business. And I think it works for him because his overheads are quite low where he lives. And I was just like, it is never gonna, like doing this is never gonna pay my bills. And we needed to buy a house. And I knew that like quite quickly. That's why I ended up getting the job in the old people's home, because I knew I couldn't hold out. There was money with a redundancy payment because I'd been there such a long time. I had quite a few months' wages that I could have used to sort of hold out and get something similar to what I was doing before. But there was numerous reasons, but I just knew that wasn't going to be the way ahead. And then the landlord messaged us and said, well, we haven't had a rent review since we'd moved in. We'd lived there for nearly 10 years now. We'd not maintained anything. And it was in shocking repair, this house. We definitely left it better than we found it. So he was on about putting the rent up. And it's going to be another snippet roll type thing coming out of this cotton reel. Yeah, he wanted to put the rent up, so we were definitely then, I've got to find a job to protect the money, because we knew at that point that was then the time to buy. So yeah, I needed to get a job. So I did get a job. And it wasn't that long after I got the job we started looking for the house, and it took about a year really. We started to look seriously after Christmas, so I started the job at Old People's Home in like September, and we started to look after the Christmas, and then we moved the following August, end of August, beginning of September. It was like the beginning of the school year. It was craziness, and that's when we had to do the car camping thing with Lil. We did it like that for I think probably an academic year we managed to do it. And there was play dates and things mixed into that as well. But it was tough going. Right, now we're at that sort of point where let's get our cabbage back from, we're just going to snip it up. I've got lots of bits of cabbage. Just because I could get my stuff in, because I've got you don't need to put a lot of stuff in it. And also, I like the idea of snipping this stuff up and using it, because it's not going to get used. And like the bits are too small to use for anything else. So it may as well get used rather than go in a landfill. Now, it would just rot down because it is just wool. It's wool from like the 1960s, I think. So it's amazing. It's like 60-year-old wool. I love it. I love the snip of scissors as well. That's quite a satisfying noise. So yeah, so during the pandemic, I am going all around the houses having this conversation. If you're keeping up with me or you're sewing. I don't know what you're doing. Let me know what you do when you watch a video. Yeah, I ended up chatting to this friend, and I knew that I just would never be able to make a living out of doing this. Not a full-time job anyway. I should probably put those buttons away, but I'm not going to. But I am going to move them to one side. I haven't put, if I was clever, I would have put a hanger on it, but that doesn't matter. If I was giving it to somebody else or buying it, selling it, I probably would do that. But the tree that this will go on, it'll sort of just nestle in. It kind of just sits in. This doesn't need stuffing too much, and that's why this stuff's quite good as well. And it doesn't matter if it's a bit lumpy. So, winner, winner. Right, we are having a chicken dinner of sorts. So yeah, getting a little potted history. It's because I'm really reflective. Normally I'm not this reflective about stuff. I just kind of live through life, and then something happens. I think, whoa, what can I learn from that? What's the next best move? And so I do have a lot of transferable skills that are not currently being used in the job that I'm doing now. So I did have a look. There might be a few things. Oh, it's cute. I do have, oh, that would be nice. That'll wait until next year because it's not terribly Christmassy, but it could be made Christmassy in a similar way I did with the flower fairy the other day. It could be made Christmassy. So we have, when we were younger, and I am jumping all over the place, aren't I? I'm just having a mind drivel chatty day. When I was younger, there was a series of books called Ladybird books, and they were all the same size, so that you could create a library of books, and they would have like snippets of information about things. The like Ladybug book of trains, fairy stories, historical books. They were very mid-century modern, really. They were sort of on the way out when I'm a child of the 70s, but you know, they were very sort of 1950s. Everything was perfect. Kind of, you know, that 1950s, everything's shiny, new and perfect. And I found at Risley Barnes a Gingerbread Man book for like £1.50. And you know how I said about like nostalgia? So my dad somehow acquired a load of Ladybird books that were being put in a skip. And I grew up on a council estate where books were very scarce. So he brought bin bag loads of these Ladybird books. And I sort of created a little library. And I think my mum and dad distributed some of these books around as well for the different people, like, you know, families on the estate. Because there was masses of them. And we ended up with just loads and loads of Ladybird books. And books were really expensive back then, sort of in the 80s. Not like now, like Lily, when she was little, it was cheaper to buy her a book from either a charity shop or online than it was to buy like those silly magazines. So I used to just, on occasions, I would buy her a silly magazine. You like the CBeebies one, or Teletubbies or something like that. Oh, Peppa Pig. She liked the Peppa Pig one. Yeah, Peppa Pig was just coming in when she was little. I didn't particularly like Peppa Pig, but there you go. think we need sarcastic small pigs, like toddler pigs. But that's just me. Anyway, so yeah, we got these books, and so when I saw this gingerbread book, I was just like, oh, because there's some of them that are quite rare, and they're quite like you could probably sell them for quite a lot of money. And it's a bit like the Star Wars toys that are all buried under the tree. Everything got played I'm one of 4 children. Everything got played very hard with. Didn't last very long, but was all very much loved, which is absolutely fine. And they were destined for escape. And that actually brings me back to the junk journaling. They would have just thrown them away. So it's sort of like use things. Use things. Yeah. Right, when I get around this little bit of a corner, I'm going to put a bit more stuff in him. Do some snips. I wonder if Lily found that masking tape. That's more than enough. Can you see, just to have a little bit of pillow in, it doesn't have to be loads. And that's why just the snippets is enough. It doesn't, you could put like wadding in or something. You could do that, definitely. Use a bit of a brush end to spread it out. Yeah, and we learned because children learn how to read phonetically, and they usually have like a series of books to learn from. So that Lily had something that were the Magic Key books, and we learnt to read off something called Peter and Jane, and they were Ladybird books in the same style and stage, that sort of stage. We got loads of those as well because they was from a school. So it was good that we had like the next books along sort of thing. It was quite good. So yeah, nostalgia. I think you get more nostalgic as you get older. I certainly realise that from working in the old people's home. And I think it's a natural part. It's like a natural part of life. It's like part of that circle of life, isn't it? That as you get towards the end of it, a long way off yet, but you know what I mean? You kind of, as you sort of circle closer to it, you do sort of become more reflective. And nostalgia is part of that reflection. Oh, we're nearly there. So if you're still with me, thank you very much. Give me a like and a subscribe and a comment. And well done, because I don't know how long this has gone on. I think it's probably gone on for about an hour. Normally they take about half an hour to whip up. They don't take up long at all if you sort of... Well, no, probably... I'm thinking if you've got everything cut out and you've made all your decisions. The decisions with me might take the longest time. There we go. Just a bit of trimmage here. I like the wonky smile. There we go. Little gingerbread man. Getting ready for Christmas. I've loved spending time with you this evening. I'm going to go and finish making dinner. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe. You can make a gingerbread man. Anything, any brown material, like the fabric sample material, a skirt, t-shirt, like literally any brown material would do the same thing. It's nice that it's felt and it's wool felt, but I think you can make these out of any, you know, sweatshirt. You'd have to be a bit more careful because of the fraying. For like jumper material, yeah, you'd be able to do it. So there we go, gingerbread man, and lots of waffle from me. I'm going to go. Bye bye everybody. I'll see you soon.